this is the tutorial on how we can create MySQL database from a PHP script. Normally, I believe I've already explained to you how to create a database when, as in using either the mobile version PHP-admin or use the web version of PHP-admin. Let me just quickly browse through, and let me just quickly re-explain this. Normally, you go to Ewebtutor website, you will see mobile PHP-admin here. So you log in with your username, your password. I've told you that this is the email we sent. Your password is inside the email we sent to you during the course of your registration, where you will have to use your hand to type it so that you won't make any mistake. So this is your database now. So this is my database now. So I've logged into my database. So to create new database, all I need to do is click on create new database. But assuming you are using this just mobile version, mobile PHP-admin, but assuming you are using the web PHP-admin, then you have to go to cPanel, you have to log in, and you have to click on MySQL database. Then you create new database, then you go to PHP-admin like we did in the previous tutorial. But right now, to create a new database, all you need to do is click on create new database. It will ask you the name of the database you want to create, and I've told you the extension will always be there. Market underscore will always be there. For every database you want to create, your username will start it underscore whatever the name that you want to create, like DB or any name you want to create. So that's just how to create a database. But this is just the way whereby an administrative can create a new database in PHP-admin. But there should be a way whereby you can create a database from a PHP script. So maybe for example now, when your user, when they are maybe on your website and they click on a particular button, they should be able to create. There is a case whereby you want them to create a new database. So right now, if you don't want to create a database by going to the mobile PHP-admin or the web PHP-admin, how can you create a new database from a PHP script? So that is what we are going to talk about now. So to create a new database on a PHP script, you make use of this function, MySQL query, the SQL / the connection. So PHP uses MySQL underscore query function to create or delete a MySQL database. This function takes two parameters. So this function is an intrinsic function, is an inbuilt function. So it takes two parameters. So and it returns true on success or false on failure. So the true parameter that it takes is the SQL and the connection. So let's see how this works now. Let's try an example. So we are to create a new database now, create new MySQL database using a PHP script. So let's try an example. So you copy this. So let's go to our FTP, because that's is on our FTP that we can run a PHP script. So right now we want to create another database now. So you know how to log into your FTP. So using a PHP script, you want to create another database. So let's create a new file. Let's name it create db.php. So the code will place, and this code is going to create a new MySQL database name. So just copy this and paste it inside this editor. So I have created a file. I name it create db.php. So let's see what happens. So this is our PHP code. I believe you understand all this line of code, this one. So this is our PHP code, and let's see what it does. So here, like the previous example that we did when we are talking about this script PHP MySQL and PHP and MySQL, I talk about the database that before you can create a database, even if you want to come, maybe you want to come to the mobile PHP-admin or you want to come to the web PHP-admin, it will ask for username and password. So before you can connect to a database, a PHP-admin, you need your username and password. So even though you are still going to connect with a script, you still need a username and password, and you need the host, which is a local host. So I've already taught you this one in the previous example. So so if the connection, if it does not connect, then what do you have to say? We say you should dial what? could not connect. I believe I've explained this also in the previous example. Else, if it connects, I ask you to upload successful, connected successful. That's the example we did previously. But this time around, we have added a bunch of code to it. Normally, this is where we stopped the other time, just to connect to the database. But this time around, we are not talking about connection to the database. We will really make use of connection to the database. So this time around, we are talking about creating a new database. So before you can create a new database, even if you go to mobile PHP admin, what will you do? You have to first connect to this database, and that is what I did here. I first connect to the database. So later, when you now connect to the database, that is when you can now say create new database. So if I don't want to create new database here, if I want to create a new database, make use of my scripts. So that is what this tutorial is trying to talk about. So the SQL now, the SQL command to create new database, this is the command, create database, and the meaning of database you have to create is what? Can you say this is the SQL, this is the command for you to create a database, and the name of the database is what? Is tutorial. Can you see? The name of the database you want to create now is what? Is tutorials. So now this is where we use the function. Normally this is just an SQL syntax, but remember when we are dealing with the create new database function now, we said it's going to take MySQL is going to take two parameters. And what are the parameters? SQL and the connection. So here now we have the MySQL underscore query, the SQL, $SQL, that's the SQL, the syntax to create it, as in the syntax of what you want to do. So this syntax now, what do you want to do? We want to create a new database, and that is the SQL, create database. And what's the name of database? Tutorial is there. Then the next thing is what? Is the connection. So where do you connect? What variable do you use to connect? We use $com to connect. So we have told you that this MySQL will always take a two parameter, the SQL and its connection, and that is what we have here. So if this ret var now is normally our connection is the connection to the database, our $com is the connection to the database, but our $ret var is the creation of the database. So if the database does not, the creation of database is not successful, it tells us that could not create database. But if it's successful, it tells us that database tutorials created successfully. And MySQL also close means what? We want to close this connection. So, but if you run it now, it's not going to give us any output because our local host is correct, our DB host is correct, our username is not correct. My username is market, and my password is, this is my password. So all my information now to connect to database is correct. So if I connect now, if it's connection successful, then the database should be able to create. So let's save this file and run it. So the name of the page is what? createdDB.php. So this is just to tell you that you can create a database from your PHP scripts without even going to your PHP admin. So in case you want to create a database and you don't want to start going to maybe the mobile PHP admin version or the web PHP admin, you can just create a simple script like what I did now. Just copy and paste this thing and edit, just copy and paste this code and edit the lines, edit the host, the username and the password automatically, and change the name of the database you want to create. Like right now in this example, we want to create a database named tutorials, so you can change it to whatever names you like. So if it runs successfully, your database will be created. So what's the name of the file? createdDB.php. So let's run it. createdDB.php. So let's run this. If all is well, it's create as that. Right now, what happened? It said connection successfully. Can you see? Connection what? Connected successfully. That means this line of code runs to connect to a database. That means our connection is successful. That's why we see the connection successfully. But right now, what did this say? Could not create database. So that means this line of code does not work well, does not run. So for you to have could not create database, it's because this line of code does not work. This is where we ask it to create a new database. This is where we ask it to create a new database, and we say that if it does not create the new database, it should die this error. So this error is what you are seeing here. So it's because database is not created. So what's our mistake? Normally our script, PHP script, is already connected. That's why we are able to see connection successfully. As soon as it's not connected, you should have seen could not connect. But it's because it's have connected, that's why you see could not connect successfully. So where we are going to troubleshoot the error is here. So this is where the mistakes happen. So but now our database does not create. That's why you see the could not create database is because of this line of code. There's an error there. And what is the error? Here now, look at the SQL now, the statement. Normally we are still going to explain to you about what a statement means, the SQL statement. As time goes on, you still understand what it means. But for now, just use whatever we have, whatever we give you in this tutorial, just use it. So you can just modify it to whatever you want by changing the username, the password, and your database name. So you can just change it to whatever you like. So but right now, the only errors that is here now is we want to create a database name tutorials. But I have told you, whenever you want to create a database in MySQL, in PHPMyAdmin, make sure that the database is always created with what? Your username underscore the name of the database you want to create. So right now, when we want to create database tutorials, then my username, what is my username? My username is market. So I can't create tutorial ordinarily, but whenever I want to create tutorial, I will use in this method market underscore what? Underscore tutorials. This is what I'm going to use. So the reason there's an error, the reason we see error that it does not create the database successfully is because of the database, the name of database, the name does not correct. I have told you that whenever you want to create a database, even if you want to create ordinary truths, your username has to start. In my own example now, my own username is market. So that's my username. So it will not be market underscore truth. So you can't just say truth ordinarily as a database, it will not create. So any database you want to create, it has to start with what? With the previous of your username. So like right now, my own username is market. It will not be market underscore. The name of my database is what? Is tutorial. So if I will call the name of my database, name of my database is not tutorials. The name of my database is what? Market underscore tutorials. So you can't just create tutorials ordinarily. If I want to create DB, I can't just create DB directly. I have to add my username is compulsory, so it will not be market underscore DB. So right now that I want to create tutorials, it will be market underscore tutorial. So that's just the structure of how a database is always. A database will always start with your username underscore the name. So let's save this and refresh. So if all is well, you should be able to have, if everything is right, can you see database tutorial created successfully. So normally you're supposed to change this success string that comes out. You're supposed to change it. So here you're supposed to change it here. You should say change it to something like database markets, because database is not tutorial. A database cannot start with it. A database will always starts with your username underscore then the name of the database. So the database can't just start with tutorial. It has to start with your username underscore the name of the database. So this is what you should change it at. So you can see that there is a success coming out. So our database tutorial has been created. So let's check the PHP. Normally whatever we do with a PHP script supposed to show in our mobile version of PHP admin, and whatever we do in the web PHP admin supposed to also show in the mobile PHP admin. So since we have created a database using the PHP script, we should see the database in our mobile PHP admin. So let's refresh our mobile PHP admin. Look at it. There's always the person is for you to log out and log in back, so that you will see the changes. So it's better you log out and you log in back, because the other time, if you remember the last example that we did, the database is there. It's until we log out and we log in back, that's when we are able to see the changes. So log out and log in back. Now you see market underscore tutorial. But right now, market underscore tutorial does not have any tables. That's why you see zero tables. So any tables is not there. That's why you see zero table. So make sure whenever you create a PHP, you create a database using a PHP script like what we did right now, make sure that you first log out your PHPMyAdmin and you log in back for you to be able to see changes. But instead of me to create my market underscore tutorial, instead of me to create it with a PHP script, I can as well click on create new database on mobile PHPMyAdmin. But note, whenever you are creating a database, let it always start with what? A previous of your username underscore the name of the database you want to create. A previous of your username underscore the name of the database you want to create. And that is the mistake we made when we are dealing with this one. So we just use ordinary tutorial, and a database cannot be like that. A database must start with your username underscore then the name of the database. So it's on this structure. So right now we've learned how to create a database. So I've told you the function that creates this database itself is this function MySQL underscore query, and it's accept two parameter $SQL comma $com. So that means your SQL comma your connection. That's the two parameters. So if it creates well, it will tell you database created successfully and a welcome message. But if it does not created well, it will tell you the reason it does not created well. So that's just that's on that. So let's go to the next example. To drop MySQL database, that is to delete a MySQL database. So that one too is to drop it. And when you talk about drop means delete. I don't know for drop means delete. So to delete a MySQL database, normally we've created a MySQL database using a PHP script. We've created a MySQL database using a PHP script. Right now, if you want to delete, that is, you want to drop a MySQL database, we can also use a script to delete a database or to drop a database. So, but if you want to use the mobile PHP admin to delete a database, all we need to do is look for a database where the database is. Click, check on the database. Like right now, if I want to drop market underscore db now, all I need to do is check on this market underscore db and click on drop. Are you sure you want to drop? I will say okay. Automatically, I will not see market underscore db there again. So when you want to draw a database, you can either drop it in your mobile version of PHP or your web version of PHP, or use a PHP script. Use a PHP script in dropping a database. So let's create a new page. Let's create a new file and call it drop db. But let's create a new file. Let's call it drop db dot drop as a delete database dot drop db dot php. So now, to drop a database also, you are going to use the same MySQL underscore query, and it contains two parameters. After the MySQL underscore query always contains two parameters, the SQL. So that is the two parameter that it contains. MySQL query is also MySQL underscore query. It's still the same MySQL underscore query that you use in creating a database the other time. So right now, let's try this example. So this is how to delete a MySQL database. So this is the code you use. It's still the same code as the previous one. I will only tell you the difference. The difference is just the SQL. So when you want to drop a MySQL database now, you also need to connect to the server. It's until you connect, that is when you'll be able to drop it. That means in mobile PHP admin, if we didn't get to this page where we log into our mobile PHP admin, if you didn't get here, you can't delete a PHP admin now. So you still need to connect to the PHP admin in order for you to delete if you are using a script, if you are using a PHP script. So let's see how we do this. So we copy this, then you paste it in the drop db. But look at this code now. The only difference between this code is just look at this is the line of code that we used to connect. I've told you that whether you want to anything you want to do with database, it also require whenever you want to connect to a database using a script, it also require username and password. But this time around, your user is not going. You see, this is the page that your user is going to have access to. But do you see anything like username and password here? The user will not have access to it. They can't see it, but it's still using username and password. So this particular page now is just for you to cover the eyes of your user, of your username and password, but still they can connect to your database. They can do anything in your database. They can add a data there. They can delete the data from it and stuff like that. Like when you use your Facebook now and you try to delete a friend, or you try to delete a post, you are communicating with Facebook database and you are deleting some data inside the database. So you have to, before they can allow you to connect to their database, they have to use a username and password in the script. It's just that you as a user, you are not seeing the username and password, but the username and password is on the page that you are browsing at that particular time. So what we are trying to say right now is that look at this script now. This one now is when we are creating a database, we make use of this one now to connect, and we make use of all this code also when we are trying to create a database. But the only difference is here in the SQL. The only difference in when you want to drop a database and you want to create a database is just the SQL, because the MySQL underscore query is always the same thing. You see that the MySQL underscore query that you use when you want to create a database, it's still the same thing that is here, but it's accept how many parameter, the SQL and the connection. The connection is always the same thing. To connect to your server, it does not change because your username and password does not change. It's always the same thing. But this $SQL is what changes. So this very difference between creating a database or dropping a database is the SQL. And what is the SQL? Your $SQL. This time around, what do you have? You have drop database. Then what's the name of database? The name of database will be here. But when we are dealing with creating new database, what do we use that time? We use create database, the name of database. But this time around, we have drop database, name of database. So the difference between creating database and dropping database is just create and drop respectively. So when you want to drop a database, you use drop. After you connect to the server using this line of code, you use drop database, the name of database will now be here. But if you want to create a database after connecting to the server like this way, then you use create database and the name of the database. So right now, what's the name of our database that we want to delete? Normally there are two databases presently now in our database, the market underscore tutorials. So let's delete the market underscore tutorials. I've told you that all your database will have a previous of your site of your username underscore. We have previous underscore the username. So your username underscore will always be a previous of all your database. So the name of this database now is not tutorials. The name of your database is what? Is market underscore tutorials. So whenever you want to create a database, it always starts with a previous of your username underscore. So right now, to create this database, what's the name of our database? Our database is what? Is market underscore what? Market underscore what? Market underscore tutorials. Market underscore tutorials. So now we say drop database. So right now this code, what is it going to do? It's going to delete our database. Right? And I've shown you how to delete the database from your mobile page manual. All you need to do is click here, then click on drop. But if you want to delete a database from a PHP script, then this is the code you are going to use. And SQL will now be drop database. And what's the name of database? Market underscore tutorial. So then once it's finished, to now be database. This is the return. What is going to return? Like the success message. This is the failure message. It does not create. If it does not drop, and this is the success message. So but now let's change it very well. Let's use. So now it will now tell us database market underscore tutorials deleted successfully. But no, it is not going to work because our username here is not correct. So if we run, what's the name of the file? Drop db.php. If we run drop db.php now, drop db.php, we discover that it will tell us failure. It will tell us that it was what? Does not connect. Why? Because our connection file, when I saved that time, I forgot to change my connection file. So this one cannot be reached. My own username is market and this is my password. So it's because of this that it does not connect. Because of it does not connect, and if it does not connect, you can't delete any database. So right now I've saved it. So let me refresh this page. You will see deleted successfully. Can you see? That's this there. But if you want to see the changes in your PHP admin, even if you refresh this page, it's not going to work. So the best thing is for you to log out of your PHP admin and log in back so that you will see the changes. So you see the changes now. You see that. Can you see? There is nothing like market underscore db again. I see there is nothing like market underscore db. So that means that's been deleted. So this is the code. The code for you to delete any database is this. All you just need to do is change the host. It's always localhost now. Change the database username to your own username. Change the database password to your own password, and change the name of database you want to delete. But note, it has to start with your username underscore the name of that database. So that's this is where you just drop database, then the name of database you want to delete will just be here. So and whenever you do that, you can always see the changes in your database. But note one thing, there's something you have to be very, very careful of. If you are deleting any database, you can delete any database that you created, but do not mistakenly delete any database that starts with your information underscore schema. This is what contains all your website configuration. So don't delete anything you do. You can delete any database that is here, but do not delete this particular database. Because when you get a server, for example, when you just get a server, automatically your server will come with what? With this database. Is a preset database in your server. Information underscore schema. Please do not delete them. Just leave it like that. So make sure whenever you are deleting a database, maybe using a PHP script, maybe you want to delete a database from your PHP admin, please do not delete this information underscore schema. Do not delete it. It's not for you to delete. But any other database that you created yourself, you can delete them. You have access to delete them. But leave information underscore schema. Just leave it as it is. Because irrespective of every server that you get, even if you host a site for a particular company, let's say go.com now, you host it for them, this information underscore schema will still come with it. Just don't delete it. So any other database you created yourself, you can, like every database we have been creating ourselves now, then we have access to we have rights to delete them. So that's just about deleting a database. So while deleting a database using a PHP script, it does not prompt you for any confirmation. When I want to delete a database now, when I want to delete a database here, when I click on drop, what will it tell me? To tell me that are you sure you want to delete? So it will prompt you. But if you are deleting a database using a PHP script, it does not prompt you that are you sure you want to delete. So be careful that you don't allow your user, because if the user should have access to this page now, they can drop this database market on that for tutorial. They will just delete it at any time. So that's why you have to be very, very careful, so that you not want to place a script that deletes a database in a place where you know that your user is accessible. And if you have coded it, even though if you have coded this thing and you have asked it to delete a database, even though you are not ready to delete the database now, and you place it in a file, and your user is able to, you give them somehow your user is able to know this link, and they visit this link, automatically they will delete it, even though you are not the one that press this link. You are not the one that enter this link, because this link is a script, and anybody, irrespective of whoever run this script, once they run it, they have access to delete it. The only thing is just if you didn't give your username and password to your mobile PHP admin, and they log in, as in they come to this link, even if they click on enter, they can't do anything on the database because it will ask them for username and password. But whenever you make use of a script does not ask a user that is using it a username and password, because during the time that you are creating the script as a web administrator, you already included the username and password of your site there. So it will never ask the user that wants to run it of his username and password. It will never ask it again of the username and password of the server. But they cannot have access to your PHP admin, because whenever they click on, even if they get this link, they will not have access to they won't have access to your username and password. So that is one thing you have to understand. So just be careful with any script you create, because if you create any script, you may have 1 million users in a particular database, and before you know it, just a single click of a link in your site, a user can delete all the information you have in your database. So you have to be very careful. So to delete a database, you just use this script. The only thing you change is your username and password for your server, and you also change the name of the database that you want to drop. So to create a new database, you change your username and password to connection to the server, and you also change the name of the database you want to create. So it has to start with your username underscore as the previous name of the database. So next thing is just to select a database. Now we've talked about creating a new database, deleting a database. Now to select a database, when you are talking about selecting a database, there are sometimes that you may want to know maybe a database exists or it does not exist. Then you use MySQL underscore select underscore DB to select a database. So in order for you to know maybe a database exists or not, you can't use creating a database to know maybe it exists. Because if you use to create a database to select, that will only create a database, and to drop we delete a database. So the only thing that you can use to know maybe a database exists or it does not exist is MySQL underscore select underscore DB. This is the command. So this time around, you are not using MySQL underscore query again. You are using MySQL underscore select underscore DB. So to know maybe a database exists or it does not exist, then this is the code you use. And the only difference is just that this time around. So let's run this code and see the output. So copy this code now. So once you copy this code now, so paste it here. Normally this is your username will be here, your password will be here. So if it does not connect, you tell you cannot connect, and if it connects, you tell you, because before you select the database now, you have to, before you select a database, you have to first connect to the server. That is how we are able to connect. So right now after you have to select a database, you need a database exists, you now use MySQL _select _db. But note, there is no database in my database that is named tutorials. There is no database that is called what, tutorials. So right now it will not, there is nothing, I won't see any return. I'm not going to see any return because I didn't have any database bearing what, bearing tutorials. So I've told you, whenever you want to use any database, you have to start with your what, your username as the previous underscore. So this time around, if this database exists, it will tell me that successful. So I will just say something like echo select database successfully, or database select successfully. So I will say something like database select successfully. So this is a code to select your database. You don't use MySQL _query now. It's only when you want to create or you want to drop a database, that's when you use MySQL _query. But when you want to know maybe the database exists or not, you are going to use MySQL _select _db. So, but one thing I will just tell you is this: all this code, with respect to whatever site that you want to build, just note, when you want to create a database, this is the code you use. It does not change. Even if Facebook want to create a database, this is the code they use. It does not change. The only thing you change is just this username and this password, and you change the name of database you want to create. You change the name of database you want to create. So that's the only thing you change in this code. So I want you to just copy this code and save it in a particular file. So anytime you need to create a site in any website you are developing, even in the future, 100 years to come, anytime you want to create a website and you need to create a database, just use this code. So the best thing is for you to just save this code. You don't have to be stressing yourself that you want to start using your hand to type it yourself. You don't have to do that. Just save it inside the file, and whenever you need it, go to that file and retrieve it from the file. The only thing you just change is just the username, the password, and the name of the database. But make sure that whenever you want to start the database, start with what, the previous of your username underscore before you have the name of the database. That's just it. So the same thing with drop. So just copy this code and save it somewhere. So whenever you need it, you will return it. So if let's say whatever site you want to create, you will still need it. So you don't need to start writing the code yourself. The reason I'm just explaining it is that I can't just copy a code for you and just run it for you. I have to explain what each of those lines, what they do, and that is why I'm explaining, so that you yourself you understand. But whether I didn't explain, you can make use of this code. All you need to do is change the username, change the password, then change the name of the database. So you can make use of the code. But I'm just explaining those lines so that you know what each of those lines, what the uses, the reason for each of these lines. That is the reason I'm explaining. So right now, so we are in selecting database. So that's why we use MySQL _select _db. So but before you select the database, maybe it exists or it does not exist, you have to first connect. So this connection file, you will discover that it does not change. So this connection file, when I want to connect, when I want to insert a database, when I want to create a database, is the same. The connection file that I use when I want to create a database is the same one that I use when I want to drop a database, and it's still the same one I'm using whenever I want to select a database, because whenever you want to do anything with the database, you need to first connect to the database, and that is what we did here. So now, if my database market underscore tutorial, if if it's already created, that is, if it's present inside my database, what will happen? Then I'm going to see a string database select successfully. But if it's not present, if this database, what's the name of database? MySQL _select database, and what's the name of database you select? This is the database you want to select, market underscore tutorials. If this database does not present inside my database, my PHP admin, what will happen? I will not see any database select success. I will not see any string. It will not post anything. But right now, is this database market underscore tutorial? Does it present in my database? You discover that you didn't have any market underscore tutorial present. So definitely this will give me an error. But assuming I have this database already created inside my PHP admin, what will happen? I'm going to see database select successfully. So that's just about the database, the creation, the selecting, the inserting, the creating, the dropping, and the selecting of MySQL database. Thank you.